Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clay, and I am the Bucks believer. Today, we saw the Bucks come away with a 133-122 victory over the Washington Wizards, in which they absolutely showed out on the offensive end of the court, but had some struggles on the defensive end. They started out pretty slow in this game and had a sloppy first quarter in which they turned the ball over 6 times, but from there on out, this was an offensive clinic from Milwaukee. In the second quarter, Chris Middleton erupted for 12 points on 5 for 6 shooting and made both of his three-pointers, and that allowed the Bucks to build up a pretty large lead that ballooned all the way to 26 points at the beginning of the third quarter. Middleton did go on to struggle for the rest of the game, and that in conjunction with a 1 for 5 first quarter made his final game stats of 23 points on 9 for 22 shooting look a little bit more underwhelming than that hot second quarter would suggest, but the fact that he was able to rein in all of those shots really put the Bucks in a comfortable position and allowed them to retain their lead despite some struggles in the latter half of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter. Jana Santericumpo was fantastic for the Bucks today, as he posted his third consecutive game with a triple-double. In this one, he had 31 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists on 12 for 19 shooting, and once again, was terrific from the free throw line, where he made all 6 of his shots. This improved free throw shooting from Giannis has allowed him to play a lot more comfortable with himself, as he's very ready to go through contact and get himself to the line. He's also done a better job of playing more smart with the basketball, where he's been able to avoid offensive fouls. He did have 2 today, but I thought that both of them were pretty weak offensive fouls as far as charges go, and there wasn't much contact. But that kind of ability to work around players that are trying to take charges has allowed Giannis to really see a boost in his playmaking. He's doing a much better job creating shots for his teammates, both finding guys on the three-point line, as he's always done, but also finding guys in the dunker spot for easy finishes at the basket. Giannis got off to a bit of a slow start to kick off this season because he was adjusting to the Bucks' new offense, where they were putting a player in the dunker spot, which was not really something they had ever done before after running a 5-out offense for much of Mike Budenholzer's first 2 seasons in Milwaukee. But this year, they instituted that dunker spot, and Giannis has done an excellent job over the past 15 or 20 or so games of being sure to include the players in that dunker spot and finding them for some really easy looks. I think that this recent play of Giannis's has vaulted him right back into the thick of the MVP conversation. I think he's probably one of the top 3 guys right now, alongside Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. And with Embiid missing the next 2 weeks, Giannis has a chance to really put himself in the running as an elite contender for his 3rd straight MVP award. Giannis is great, we all know it, and the way he's been playing lately is probably the best version of Giannis we've ever seen. So I hope to see that continue, especially as playoff time rolls around, because the Bucks are absolutely going to need Giannis to be on his A game in order for them to beat elite Eastern Conference teams like the Sixers, Nets, and Heat. Finally, I do want to talk about Brook Lopez, because this was probably one of Brook Lopez's 2 or 3 best offensive games of the season so far. He scored 22 points and grabbed 7 rebounds, made 8 of his 12 shots, and all 6 of his free throws. And Lopez has earned the nickname of the Splash Mountain over the past 3 seasons, as he has become a much better three-point shooter than he ever was during his time in Brooklyn or Los Angeles. But so far this season, it seems like Brook has done a bit better job of scoring the ball inside the arc rather than being super reliant on his three-point shot. He has been one of the beneficiaries of Antetokounmpo's improved playmaking and finding guys in the dunker spot, as Lopez is able to get a couple really easy shots out of that position per game. He also has done a nice job of attacking some closeouts, and although his drives are incredibly slow and it's almost like you're watching them in slow-mo, he's still able to finish because of that large frame. He's able to push some guys around and easily get to the basket. So that has definitely been good for the Bucks over the past 3 games, where Brook has been a lot more aggressive on both ends of the court following the All-Star break than he was heading into it. So to see the Bucks, well, 3 of their 4 best players, and Jrue Holiday was pretty solid in this one as well, putting up 15 points, playing this well, it's going to be hard for them to lose games, even if their defense struggles a little bit, which it certainly did in this one. The main beneficiary of the Bucks' defensive struggles was Bradley Beal. Wrong verb tense usage there. Sorry, Mrs. Drinkwine, my English teacher. Beal piled in 37 points on 13 for 19 shooting, made 4 of his 7 3-pointers and all 7 of his free throws. Beal was mostly able to be so successful because he was making a lot of really difficult shots off of the dribble, and there were hands in his face, there were guys covering him and swarming him, and it didn't really matter. Brad was still able to make those incredibly difficult shots. I don't blame Jrue Holiday or Chris Middleton at all, because overall I think those two both did a pretty solid job of guarding Beal. He just was able to make some really tough shots. That's not to say that the Bucks defense was completely blameless in Beal's scoring exploits, because I do think that at times scoring was a little bit easier for him than it probably should be, but overall I give huge props to Brad for his ability to knock down all of those difficult shots. Russell Westbrook also had a pretty solid game, although I do think the Bucks did a better job guarding him in this one than they did in the prior matchup on Saturday night. As in this game, they had Jana Santericumpo guarding him for larger periods of time, and Giannis' length made it really difficult on Russ, and he wasn't able to get to the basket as easily as he did on Saturday. Westbrook still was able to put up 23 points, but a lot of those points came from beyond the three-point arc, as he made 4 of his 6 three-pointers. That, in combination with his 5 for 11 performance from beyond the arc on Saturday, combined for him to shoot 9 for 17 in these 2 games against Milwaukee. Westbrook is not that good of a three-point shooter, so I do think that the Bucks' struggles on defense were accentuated a little bit by some pretty streaky and shooting from Westbrook, obviously. But Russ did a nice job of responding to the Bucks' adjustments on him by dishing out 17 assists in this game. He was just finding open shooters at every possible turn, and that was excellent in getting his teammates involved. Deni Avdija, Davis Bertans, Raul Neto, they were all able to convert some wide open three-point shots in this game because of Westbrook's playmaking. So even though Russ wasn't able to score as easily as he did on that 42-point night Saturday, he still was a large reason for the Wizards putting up 122 points in this game. That 122 points actually sounds a bit worse from the Bucks defense's perspective than it actually was. This game was really up-tempo. There were 110.5 possessions played out, and the Bucks defensive rating was actually just 109.9, which is pretty close to where they've been on the season so far. They weren't nearly as awful as that 122 point mark would indicate, but there certainly is room for improvement. In particular, I thought they could have defended the 2 star guards from the Wizards a bit better than they did. A large way in that is that they were doing a bit of overhelping here, which means their defenders were collapsing into the paint a little bit more than I felt they should have, and that allowed the Wizards guards to create some open looks for their teammates on the perimeter. As I said before, Westbrook had 17 assists. Rui Hachimura also had a solid game for Washington. I don't have too much to say on that, but 22 points on 9 for 18 shooting, his second consecutive 20-point game against the Bucks. I'm impressed with this guy, and following this series, I think he's a better player than I thought he was heading into it. Overall, in conclusion, this game for the Bucks had some good and some bad. They were pretty terrific on the offensive end, and I really liked seeing the Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton combination being used a bit more, as there were 3 lobs. Giannis only converted 2 of them, but to see that play used more and more is always a good sign. But on defense, there were struggles, as they gave up a lot of open threes, and they gave up some easy shots to the star players. So there's certainly both positive and negative takeaways from this one, but considering the team got the win, I think that this is a pretty positive game, and I'm excited for the challenge of a Philadelphia team, albeit without Joel Embiid, on Wednesday night. Let me know what your thoughts were on this game in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, especially if you enjoy all things Bucks, because I'm going to be cranking out quality Bucks content for the rest of the season. That's going to be it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you all again very soon.